John Miller stepped into the quiet glow of the repair bay. The air smelled faintly of oil and metal. He carried his toolbox and felt the hum of the station around him. Lights flickered over rows of workbenches and spare parts. He had heard that an alien ship had broken down here. He hoped he could help Dot at the far end of the bay. A small craft stood on a maintenance platform. The hull was painted in pale green stripes. Two small figures knelt by the open engine hatch. They looked up when John approached. One twin had hair like silver moonlight. The other had hair like melted copper. Both had large eyes that glowed softly in the dim light. They wore simple suits of white and blue. They looked like children, but their faces held both fear and hope. John set down his toolbox and gave a gentle smile. He spoke in a calm voice. "Hello, I am John Miller. I am here to help fix your ship." The twins whispered to each other in their strange language. John waited politely. He tapped his holowrist to scan the ship's model. The station's computer linked him to the ship's data port. He studied the error logs and saw multiple faults in the engine's cooling system. He turned back to the twins. "Your coolant pumps have failed. I can repair them, but it will take some time." The twin with silver hair nodded slowly. She used a small translator device. "Thank you, John Miller. We are Zoe and Mia." John offered them a small hand. They placed their hands together in a shy greeting. Their skin felt cool and soft. He opened his toolbox and took out a set of precision wrenches. He climbed onto a folding stool. He lifted the engine cover and peered at the complex pipes and cylinders. The system looked like a maze of shining tubes. Zoe watched him with wide eyes. Mia knelt beside a crate of spare parts. She picked up a glowing orb the size of a grapefruit. "This is our coolant crystal. It powers the engine's heat exchange." John accepted the orb carefully. It pulsed with light inside his glove. He placed it on a padded tray. He told them, "I will test it later. Right now, I must clear these tubes." He fitted a flexible hose attachment to a cleaning port. He pressed a button and watched small particles swirl inside the transparent pipe. Dust and debris floated out. The twins leaned forward, fascinated. While the system cleaned, John reached into his toolbox for a new gasket set. He took out small rings that fit around each tube joint. He compared them to the damaged rings that lay on a metal plate. The old rings were cracked and charred. Zoe tapped his arm. She held a small piece of fabric, soft and thin. "This is from our home world. We thought you might like it." John smiled warmly. He gently touched the fabric. It felt like silk, but stronger. "Thank you. It is very kind." He folded it and placed it in his pocket. After cleaning the tubes, he shut off the hose and removed the tool. He started fitting the new rings. Each one clicked into place. He tightened the bolts with care. Mia studied his hands. "Your hands work so well with machines," she said through the translator. John shrugged. "I have practiced for many years. I enjoy solving problems." He wiped sweat from his brow. The station's lights made his forehead shine. He moved on to inspect the coolant crystal. He placed it in a test rig. The rig measured its energy output. The twins watched the readout numbers glow in green. The silver-haired twin asked, "Is it still good?" John saw the crystal's power was low. He frowned. "Your crystal is near its end. It will not hold enough energy for long. But I have a spare." He tapped his wrist again and opened the station's parts inventory. Soon, a small kit arrived on a transport drone. The drone hovered nearby and lowered the kit with gentle clinks. John opened it. Inside lay a similar crystal, bright and clear. He smiled. "This one is fresh." He carefully removed the old crystal. It glowed faintly before going dark. He placed it in a safety tube. Then he slid the new crystal into the engine slot. It clicked and pulsed with light. Mia gasped softly. The glow inside the engine grew stronger. She and Zoe shared a look of relief. John closed the engine hatch and secured the cover. He double-checked the bolts. He wiped his hands on a cloth. He stood and stretched. "The main repairs are done. I need to run a system test. It should take 10 minutes. The twins jumped to their feet. They pressed a button on a nearby console. lights on the ship began to blink. A low hum rose up as the engine powered on. John watched the readouts. Temperatures stabilized, pressure levels balanced. Everything was within safe range. He turned off the console. All systems green, he announced. Zoe and Mia clapped their hands. Their eyes shone. They spoke in their language again. The translator. Beep. Zoe smiled at John. Thank you, John Miller. You have saved us? John felt a warm glow in his chest. He shook his head. It was my job? I'm glad it helped. The twins stepped away from the ship and beckoned John to follow. He climbed down from the platform. They led him to a small seating area at the edge of the bay. A round table stood there with 3 soft chairs. Zoe brought out a tray of snacks. They looked like small crystals that glowed softly. Mia poured a pale blue liquid into cups. The twins sat opposite John. They each handed him a snack. He tasted it. It was sweet and tangy. The drink was cool and smooth. They laughed softly. John laughed too. He felt more relaxed than he had in days. Zoe asked through the translator, Will you join us for a meal on our ship before you leave? John considered. He checked his holowrist. He had one last system test to complete, but he could finish it in his suite later. He nodded. Yes, I would like that. Mia reached across the table and touched his hand. John felt a gentle spark at the contact. He smiled at her and returned her gesture. As they finished their snacks, the station speaker crackled. A voice called, Engineer Miller, please. Report to the control tower for station briefing. John sighed. He stood and gathered his tools. Zoe and Mia stood too. They walked with him toward the exit. John felt a new excitement. He had come to fix a ship, but he had found new friends. He wondered what stories they would share on their voyage home. He opened the door to the long corridor and stepped into the light. He did not look back. John Miller entered the control tower, following the sound of voices. The room was bright and alive with activity. Displays showed rotating ships, trading routes, and star maps. Station officers and technicians moved quickly between consoles. Commander Ellis waited for John near the main holoboard. She was tall with serious eyes. John approached with respect. Engineer Miller, she said. We are glad you are here. This station owes us many favors. Your help with that alien vessel is noted. John nodded. Thank you, Commander. It was an interesting challenge. Ellis tapped a blinking icon on the board. A small image of Zoe and Mia's ship floated beside. Others, we have cleared your schedule. You may return to your station suite for rest, but if you wish, you can join me for a briefing on rising pirate activity. John felt his curiosity spark. I would like that. It may help prepare for future repairs? He followed Ellis to a small side room. Inside, 3 officers sat. One held a datapad. She reviewed logs of pirate scans. The other 2 studied sensor readings. Our sensors detected a group of pirate ships near the Cerulean Belt, the officer said. They intercept small vessels, drain their fuel, and leave their crews adrift. John frowned. That is terrible. Do you think they will come here? The officer tapped her datapad. Possible. Their pattern shows they avoid stations with strong defenses, but rumors say they have improved their stealth tech. Ellis folded her arms. We may need to increase patrols? Engineer Miller, if pirates attack and ships here need repairs, will you help? John sat. I will. I can set up a mobile workshop near the docking bays. It will speed repairs. Commander Ellis smiled. That is good. We will grant you access to spare parts and power. Outside the tower, John returned to the maintenance bay. Zoe and Mia waited in the corridor. Their eyes brightened when they saw him. Zoe asked, Your meal? John laughed. That comes after this briefing, but I have news. Commander Ellis wants me to help if pirates attack us. Mia's face grew serious. Pirates are dangerous. We have faced them before. John placed his hand on Mia's arm. We will be ready, but first let us share a meal. I am hungry. He looked down the corridor. Shall we return to your ship? Zoe nodded. Yes, our galley is small but cozy. We hope you like our food. They walked to the bay. John carried his toolkit. The twins led him into the ship. Inside, Warm lights glowed on curved walls. Chairs and tables fit the small space. A hidden hatch opened to a galley. Aromatic scents filled the air. Zoe brought out bowls of steaming soup. The broth was clear with floating shapes like petals. Mia placed a plate of flatbread that smelled of herbs. John served himself. He took a spoonful of soup. It was mild with a hint of sweetness. He tore a piece of bread and dipped it. The flavors blended well. They ate. In comfortable silence, John looked at the twins. Your homeworld must taste different. Mia smiled. Yes, our crops grow under 2 suns. Our spices are bold and bright. But we learn to cook for other species when we trade. Zoe sipped her soup. We studied human recipes. Your soups are gentle, good for engineers after long work. John grinned. It is a simple meal, but it warms the stomach and soul. They finished. Zoe cleared dishes swiftly. John helped stack bowls. Zoe said, we wish to show you more. Will you come to the observation deck after? John rested. I would like to, but I should test the ship's systems again first. Mia shook her head. Your tests are done. You fixed us. It is time to rest. John hesitated. He opened his mouth to refuse. Then he thought of the long repairs, the shared snacks, the laughter. He nodded. All right, observation deck, lead the way. They led him up a narrow stairway. At the top, a lens filled the wall. Stars twinkled in patterns he had never seen. Zoe pressed a button. Panels slid back. A field of telescopes and sensors appeared. Mia tapped a control. The stars shifted on screen. John watched constellations align. He leaned close, studying curves and colors. Mia explained, that cluster is our home group. The star on the left is blue. On the right, you see our planet's sun. John listened. He learned about alien astronomy, about galaxies that spun differently. Suddenly, alarms rang in the deck. A red light strobed above the lens. John grabbed Zoe's arm. What is happening? He asked. Mia checked the console. We have inbound ships. Too small for trade. Zoe's translator clicked. They are pirates. They use stealth, but our sensors caught them. John stood. We need to warn the station. Mia hit a come button. Station. Control, this is Twin Craft Delta. We have pirate ships approaching. A crackle answered. Confirm type and number, Zoe spoke. 3 fast attack ships, armed. They will strike within minutes. The station voice came back. Alert all bays. Engage defense grid. We are sending fighters. Everyone brace for attack. John turned to the twins. We must help protect the deck. They nodded. John ran down the stairs. Zoe and Mia followed. Outside the ship, the station bay glowed red. Doors closed. Defense drone arms unfolded on the walls. John shouted, Get to cover! He saw small pirate fighters appear through the lens hole in the station wall. They fired lasers at the bay doors. Zoe and Mia found a console near the door. Mia switched on a shield generator on their ship. A faint force field appeared around their craft. John climbed onto a crate. He reached a panel and flipped switches. Lights blinked on nearby drone docking ports. He wired the control panel to the station's main grid. The drones powered up with soft whistles. Zoe guided Mia to load weapons packs. They handed John a pack of energy cells. He carried them to the drone bay. The first pirate fighter hit the station hull with a beam. Sparks flew. Alarms blared louder. John plugged the energy cells into a drone. The drone's eyes glowed. It rose from its dock with a hum. He worked quickly, plugging each cell into waiting drones. Soon, 6 drones floated above the deck. The pirate fighters slipped inside the bay. Their underbellies opened to reveal guns. John held a remote. He activated the drones. They sprang forward and formed a ring. Lasers and missiles streaked out. 2 drones shot beams that deflected on the pirate ship's shields. 4 drones fired magnetic nets that wrapped around engines. The pirate fighters sputtered and slowed. They crashed into the bay wall with loud thuds. The station dropped shock absorbers. Nothing else was harmed. Zoe and Mia cheered. John let the control remote fall. He panted. Mia asked, Are you all right? John wiped sweat. I am fine. But we must Secure the bay. He reset the drone commands to patrol mode. The drones hovered quietly. Zoe sent a message radio. Pirates neutralized. Station safe. Thank you. Commander Ellis's voice replied. Well done, Twincraft and Engineer Miller. We owe you both. Proceed with your rest. The bay lights returned to normal. The red alert ended. John and the twins looked at the damaged pirate fighters. They were small and broken. Mia shook her head. They will not bother us again. John smiled. I think they learned to fear us. They locked the bay doors and walked back to the ship. John felt alive. He had fixed a ship, shared a meal, and fought pirates by its side. He looked at Zoe and Mia, their eyes shining with pride. Zoe reached out to hold his hand. John took it. He thought of the journey ahead. It would be full of stars and surprises. He felt he had found a new place among the twins. He stepped inside their ship, ready for whatever came next. End of Part 2. John awoke to a gentle shudder. The ship drifted through space. Soft lights glowed above him. He sat up and saw Zoe and Mia standing by a viewport. They watched a ribbon of stars pass by. John stretched and rubbed his eyes. The air inside the ship was cool and quiet. He smiled when he saw the twins. They looked at him with hopeful faces. Zoe spoke first through the translator. We have crossed the outer belt. Homeworld is near. Mia added, We thought you might want to see the first sunrise when we arrive. John nodded. I would. Like that, he stood and walked to them. His boots clicked on the metal floor. They led him down a narrow corridor. The ship's walls curved slightly inward. Grips and handrails lined the sides. They reached a small room with 2 windows. Zoe opened the shutters. In the darkness, they saw a planet with green swirls and blue oceans. Rings of ice crystals floated around its equator. John whispered, It is beautiful. Mia sat on a low bench. Yes, we call it Velen. It has 2 suns. That is why our crops grow so tall. They watched as light touched the planet's surface. The rings flashed like diamonds. The twins showed John their world map. They pointed to their home city on a coastal continent. They explained that their city was built on towers above the water. John listened carefully. He imagined winding bridges and flying vehicles. He pictured gardens floating in the sky. Mia adjusted a dial on the console. We will enter orbit over our city in 10 minutes. You may rest here or explore other parts of the ship. John thanked them and stepped back. He felt a mix of excitement and calm. He walked through the next hatch into the main corridor. The corridor led to a larger room. It served as living space and workshop. Tools and parts lined one side. A table and chairs stood at the other. John noticed a small writing desk. A holopad glowed on its surface. He tapped a message to his station. He wrote, Arrive safely with Twincraft. Ship is stable. He sent it. He returned the holopad and walked toward the workshop side. He saw a panel open to reveal spare parts. He smiled at the order the twins kept. Suddenly, the ship shivered. John caught himself on a handrail. He looked back toward the view window. A bright flash lit the room. He ran back to the viewer. The planet's rings sparked and glowed. Small rocks and dust swirled around the ship. Zoe and Mia joined him at the window. Zoe's eyes widened. Asteroid ring. We must navigate carefully. Mia tapped controls. The ship adjusted its thrusters. It tilted and slowed. John studied the console. He saw courses plotted through the denser parts of the ring. He pointed at a narrow gap. He said, We should aim for that opening. The stones are smaller there. Zoe nodded. She adjusted the heading. Mia recalibrated the shields. The ship moved toward the gap. They slipped through a shower of small stones. Each bounced off the shields with faint thuds. John watched the energy levels on the shield's meter. One rock pierced the shields near the engine housing. Spark showers flew. John rushed to the engine corridor. Zoe and Mia followed. They saw sparks on a pipe. Hot coolant leaked. John assessed the damage. The pipe is cracked. We must seal it or coolant will drain. He opened his bag and pulled out a repair kit. He removed sealing paste and a clamp. Mia handed him a cloth. John wiped the leak area. He applied paste around the crack. He positioned the clamp and tightened screws. Zoe stood guard at the corridor hatch. She monitored sensors. Mia worked a console to adjust engine power. The leak stopped. The coolant level held steady. John exhaled a deep breath. He patted Mia's shoulder. That should hold until we land, Mia smiled. Zoe nodded. They all returned to the bridge. John looked out the window. The planet's surface came closer. He saw oceans and land. Clouds drifted lazily. The twins guided the ship down through the rings. Rocks and dust slid by harmlessly. Then the rings ended. They entered clear atmosphere. The sky glowed in pink and gold. Two suns rose together. Light danced on the waves. Below, John watched tears in Zoe's eyes. He felt a swell of emotion. Zoe whispered, "This is our first sunrise together." John placed his hand on Zoe's shoulder. Mia reached for his other hand. He felt a warmth spread in his chest. He smiled. The ship descended toward a landing platform above the city. Towering pillars of metal and glass rose from the water. Bridges of light connected them. They landed smoothly. The platform's supports extended. The ship shut down its engines. John heard footsteps on the platform outside. A group of tall beings approached. They wore robes of soft blue and white. Their faces were kind. Zoe tapped a come button. "Mother, Father, this is John Miller. He helped us." A tall figure stepped forward. Her hair was silver like Zoe's. The other, with copper hair, matched Mia's. Zoe said, "Mother, Father, this is John Miller. He fixed our ship." John bowed respectfully. "It was my honor." The father spoke in gentle tones. His voice came through the translator. "We thank you, John Miller. You saved our daughters and our people." The mother added, "Please join us in the palace. We wish to offer our gratitude." Zoe and Mia led John off the ship. He carried his toolbox with him. They walked along the platform's rails. A drone hovered beside them, carrying baskets of flowers. John admired the city below. Flying vehicles passed between towers. Gardens floated in the sky. They arrived at a grand gate. Twin guards stepped aside. Gold symbols glowed on the gate. Inside, they entered a courtyard of water and light. A small waterfall flowed from a statue of two sisters. The mother led John to a seat. She offered him a cup of tea made from purple leaves. John drank. It was warm and slightly bitter. The father said, "Tell us about your homeworld, John Miller." John smiled. He spoke of Earth. He described oceans and forests. He spoke of families and cities. They listened with interest. Zoe and Mia watched by his side. When he finished, the mother said, "We wish to honor you. Please accept this." She handed him a pendant. It glowed with pale blue light. Zoe explained, "It is the mark of our people. It will keep you safe." John felt its warmth. He thanked them. Suddenly Mia's come beeped. A warning flashed on the pad. John checked it. A storm brewed in the planet's upper atmosphere. It would reach the city in hours. John looked at the family. "You must prepare for the storm. It could damage the city." The father frowned. "Our shields protect us, but waves may rise." John said, "I can help reinforce the shield grid and repair any breaches." The mother nodded. "Please do. You have our trust." They left the courtyard. Zoe, Mia, and John returned to the ship. John tapped the console. He accessed station contacts. He messaged Commander Ellis. "Storm alert on Velen. I will need parts for shield reinforcements." Ellis replied quickly. "Acknowledged. Parts en route." They waited as a transport drone arrived. It dropped crates of shield modulators and cables. John and the twins worked side by side. They climbed to the shield generator room on the platform. They installed modulators and patched power lines. They tested circuits and replaced worn cables. The shield network glowed brighter over the city towers. The storm arrived. Dark clouds rolled in. Lightning flashed. Wind howled over the water. But the city remained safe. The shield held firm. Zoe and Mia watched from the platform. They felt the storm's power but saw no damage. Mia smiled. "You saved our home." John shook his head. "You asked me to stay forever." Zoe took his hand. "We mean it." John looked at the twins. He thought of Earth, of family, of home. He smiled back. Then I will stay. They embraced as the storm raged around them. They stood together, bound by adventure and hope. John woke to the soft hum of the shield generators. Outside the window, the storm clouds peeled away, revealing twin suns shining bright. He sat up and saw Zoe and Mia stretching beside him. Mia smiled at him. The storm is gone. The city looks calm. John nodded. He stood and joined them at the viewer. Below, towers glowed in sunlight. Bridges and gardens sparkled. He still could not believe he was here. Zoe reached for his hand. Thank you for staying. John squeezed her hand gently. I wanted to see your world. Mia stepped forward. Today, we want to show you the market district. You will meet our people. John grinned. Lead the way. They left the ship and walked along a floating walkway. The air smelled of flowers and spices. Drones carried goods from stall to stall. Beings of many shapes browsed wares. Zoe pointed at a booth. This sells fresh fruits. These glow blue when ripe. John picked one up. It was cool and smooth. He bit it. Juicy sweetness burst in his mouth. Mia laughed. Everything tastes different here. They sampled bread baked with alien grains. They tried tea made from pink lotus petals. John smiled at every new flavor. A parade of dancers passed by. They wore bright robes and moved in time to music. The twins clapped and spun around. John watched them dance. They looked happy. He felt joy spread inside him. As they walked, people greeted Zoe and Mia. John heard name calls. The twins bowed respectfully. He realized they were well known here. A tall woman approached. She carried a basket of fresh eggs. Her hair was white like Zoe's but styled in braids. She spoke to Zoe. My daughter will marry soon. Can you bless her with your song? Zoe and Mia exchanged a look. They nodded and followed the woman to a small stage. John waited. Soon music drifted from the stage. The twins sang in their language. Their voices blended like twin flames. The crowd fell silent. Then they cheered. John felt proud. He stepped forward and applauded. Zoe and Mia bowed after the song. The twins returned to John. The woman whispered thanks to them. John said, Your voice is beautiful. Zoe blushed. Mia smiled. They walked on. They entered a wide square. In its center, a statue of two sisters holding a torch stood on a pedestal. Water flowed around them in a pool. Mia tapped her translator. Legend says they saved this city from flood by calling rains to stop, Zoe added. That is why our people honor sisters. John studied the statue. He thought of Zoe and Mia. He felt their bond was as strong as sisters. They stopped at a stall where small robots carved figures from stone. The artist showed John a carving of a human and two twin aliens. He gasped. The stone figures looked exactly like them. The artist smiled. Every hero who helps our people is carved in stone. The artist said. John looked at Zoe and Mia. Zoe's eyes glowed. Mia reached for his arm. He felt humbled. I never expected this. The artist handed John a small stone. Carving. It showed him standing between Zoe and Mia. He touched it gently. Mia said, This reminds us of our promise. John nodded. He slipped the carving into his pocket. They continued exploring. Soon Mia said, We must return to the palace. A message arrived. Zoe and John followed her. They climbed onto a hover train. The ride was smooth and fast. They passed towers and bridges in minutes. At the palace, the council waited. Ancient beings sat on chairs of crystal. Their robes glowed with power. A council elder spoke. The upper ring above Velen shows strange signs. Dark clouds gather there, even in clear space. Mia frowned. That region holds ships that guard our trade routes, John asked. Could it be pirates again? The council elder shook her head. No, these clouds are not made by ships. They are formed by unnatural storms of charged particles. Zoe whispered to John, This could harm our trade ships. John said, I should examine their engine ships. A ship like mine can help. The council elder nodded. Take these orders. Go to the lower dock and inspect the patrol craft. She handed John a data card with coordinates. Zoe and Mia led him to the lower dock. A fleet of small patrol ships rested there. Each had weapons and sensors. John stepped onto one. He opened the data card on its console. He scanned the instructions. Test. Shields and engines. Report any anomalies. John climbed into the engine room. Zoe and Mia followed. He checked the coolant levels and shield modulators. He found a faint buildup of charged particles on the shield emitter. He wiped it off and reset the field generator. Mia watched him. You know machines well? John smiled. They speak too. Me. He moved to the engine cooling system. The coolant pump ran smoothly. But a sensor read higher temperature. He adjusted the coolant flow. Temperatures dropped to normal. He reset the warning alarms. They tested the ship's thrusters. He fired them in short bursts. The ship lifted off and hovered. A patrol drone approached. It scanned the ship's hull and systems. It gave a green light. John turned off the thrusters and set the ship back on the dock. He tapped the console and sent a report. Ship's clear, minor buildup removed, no major issues. Zoe and Mia congratulated him. John said, We should monitor the upper ring. We may need to guard trade ships. They returned to the palace. The council thanked them. They offered John a place on the guard fleet. John thought about Earth and his old life. He thought of Zoe and Mia waiting. He nodded. I will help guard your ships. The council granted him a badge. It pulsed with blue light. Zoe hugged him. Mia kissed his cheek. John felt at home. That night they dined in the palace halls. Long tables held dishes from every region of Velen. The twins introduced John to new friends. They laughed and shared stories. John spoke of his adventures in outer space. Zoe and Mia listened proudly. After the meal, Zoe and Mia walked John back to his suite on the palace grounds. They stood beneath a sky of stars. The twin suns had set. The moonlight shimmered on the water. Zoe said softly, We have one more thing. For you. Mia handed John a small box. He opened it to find a uniform. It was a blend of station gear and Velian design. Zoe smiled. This is your uniform. You are now a Velian Guardian. John put it on. It fit perfectly. The badge glowed on his chest. He looked at them. I will wear it with pride. Mia kissed his forehead. Welcome home. John felt his heart swell. He touched Zoe's hand and Mia's. Together, they gazed at the stars, ready for new adventures as a team and as family. John woke early to the soft glow of Velen's morning. He stepped onto the balcony of the palace suite. The water below mirrored dawn's colors. He thought of his old life on Earth. He missed its air and fields. But here he had purpose and friends. Zoe joined him, carrying 2 cups of tea. She handed one to John. The tea smelled of citrus and mint. John sipped slowly. This world is wonderful, he said. Thank you for showing it to me, Zoe smiled. Your courage helped us. Today we celebrate. Mia arrived with a small box. She opened it to show 2 brooches. Each was shaped like a twin star. These are for you, she said. A token of our bond. John accepted the brooch and pinned one to his uniform. He felt their warmth. I will wear it always. They finished tea and dressed for the ceremony. Zoe and Mia wore robes of blue and silver. John chose simple pants and a fitted shirt with his uniform jacket. They walked through palace halls to a grand chamber. Velians stood in rows on each side. Soft light poured from crystal chandeliers. Everyone looked at John with respect. At the front, the council sat above a raised platform. The elder nodded to them. Zoe led John onto the platform. Mia stood beside him. The elder spoke through the translator. John Miller has proven his valor. He fixed our ship, defended our home, and pledged his life to Velen. We welcome him as guardian. A technician stepped forward and placed a silver circlet on John's head. It fit perfectly, its glow matching the brooch. The crowd cheered. John bowed. He looked at Zoe and Mia. They beamed back at him. He felt proud. After the ceremony, the crowd moved to a courtyard. Tables held fruits and pastries. Musicians played gentle tunes. John, Zoe, and Mia walked among guests. People greeted John, offering thanks. He shook hands and bowed. A young Velian approached Zoe. Guardian Miller is welcome at my home today. Please, come. Zoe and Mia nodded. They motioned John to follow. They walked through gardens filled with glowing flowers. Water streams ran. Over smooth stones, they arrived at a pavilion. A feast waited there. Dishes of plant roots, fruit glazes, and steamed grains filled the table. John tasted each dish. New flavors met his senses. He smiled at Zoe and Mia. They laughed at his delight after the meal. They retired to a quiet terrace. The suns began to set in twin arcs. Mia said, "We have one more journey for you." John raised an eyebrow. "Another one?" Zoe nodded. "A pilgrimage to the Twin Springs. It is a sacred site where our people find peace." John agreed. They walked down garden paths lined with lanterns. They reached a small boat. It floated on a calm canal. They boarded. A quiet guide pushed them along with a pole. Vines draped over stone arches. They glided under arches into a hidden glade. Two springs of water rose from the ground, side by side. Their surfaces shimmered with light. Zoe and Mia knelt by the springs and placed their hands in the water. John knelt between them. He dipped his fingers in. The water felt cool and alive. A gentle breeze blew petals onto the surface. Mia closed her eyes. Zoe placed her hand over John's. He felt a pulse of energy. He closed his eyes too. In silence, they meditated. John felt his heart fill with calm. Thoughts of doubts and fears faded. After a time, they rose. Zoe wiped her eyes. Mia smiled softly. John said, "I understand why this place is sacred. I feel its peace in my soul." Zoe took his hand. "You are part of us now." They returned by boat. The guide left them at a landing where lanterns lit the path. As night fell, they walked back to the palace. Stars and moons shone above. John felt content. The next morning, John reported to the palace workshop. He had a new task. A remote research station needed shield repairs. Trade ships avoided its routes because of storms. Zoe and Mia came with him. They boarded a small craft. John checked instruments as they flew above ocean. The research station was a platform on the water. It rose on stilts. Waves crashed below. They landed on a docking pad. Staff greeted them. They showed John broken shield arrays. Motors were corroded by salt. John worked quickly. He cleaned corroded parts. He replaced motors and sealed connections. He patched the arrays with new modulators. Mia handed him tools and scans. Zoe adjusted power settings. In under 2 hours, the arrays glowed with protective fields. The station manager thanked them. "We can continue our experiments now." "Thank you, Guardian Miller." John smiled. He felt pride again. He looked at Zoe and Mia. They stood close. They flew back to Velen at dusk. The twin suns set in the distance. On the palace balcony, John, Zoe, and Mia watched the horizon. Velen glowed in soft light. John said, "I have a message to send to Earth. I want to tell my old friends what I found here." Zoe nodded. "Tell them they are welcome too." John activated his holorist and recorded a greeting to Earth. He described Velen, its people, and his new life. When he finished, Mia said, "Your message will inspire others." John smiled at her. "I hope they come." Zoe rested her head on his shoulder. Mia linked her arm through his. They watched the stars appear. 3 lights shone bright, the twin suns and the distant star of Earth. John thought of home and the future. He felt he belonged in both worlds now. John awoke to silence. The storm had passed, and twin suns shone warm light through his window. He sat up and stretched. Today, a grand farewell awaited him. He dressed quickly in his guardian uniform. The brooch and circlet glowed softly on his chest. He felt both proud and sad to leave soon. Zoe entered with a tray of morning fruits. "Good morning, John. Are you ready?" John nodded. "Ready as I'll ever be." He took a fruit slice. The flavor was sweet and crisp. Mia appeared with a compact pack. She handed John a small holorist update. "Your supply runner is here. It will carry you to the station." John opened a viewing port. He saw a sleek runner ship waiting on a landing pad, its hull painted blue and white. They walked together through palace halls. Velians lined the path, bowing to John. He nodded back respectfully. At the outer gate, Commander Ellis waited beside her officer. She smiled when she saw John. Ellis said, "Engineer Miller, or should I say Guardian Miller? Your service here was exemplary. I will escort you back to the station." John bowed. "Thank you, Commander." Zoe hugged him tight. Mia held his hand. John felt tears come. Zoe whispered, "Come back to visit." John choked a bit. "I will." Mia pressed the pendant in his hand. "This will guide you home." John nodded. He stepped back. He climbed into the runner ship. Ellis sealed the hatch. John looked out the window. He saw Zoe and Mia waving from the platform. He pressed his hand to the glass. The ship lifted off. John turned to Commander Ellis. Ellis set a course for the station. "Tell me of your plans, John," John thought. "I will resume my work at the station. But I will also teach students about Velian tech," Ellis smiled. "A good bridge between worlds." They soared through space. John watched the planet shrink behind him. He thought of its towers, its people, its suns. He felt a tug in his heart. A longing to return soon. The runner docked at the station's side port. John stepped onto the maintenance bay. He saw familiar tools and lights. Commander Ellis shook his hand. "Welcome home, Guardian Miller." John looked toward the old bay. He knew his seat among the station's engineers awaited him. He took a deep breath and walked toward it. Above him, stars stretched in silent promise of more adventures to come.